it's really easy for people to get frustrated, right? Especially if they have a podcast and they're not seeing growth, which is a clear indication it needs to be a clear indication for you. Okay, what am I not doing to connect with my audience the right way? What's going on with the communication that I'm not getting the growth that I want to get? So you have to be willing to ask that question, which
Maybe
is what
you're just
we
not
will
interesting.
do.
You have to be willing to be a student like you're asking your customer to be.
Because if you are turning down the ability to access free information because you know, they're going to get my email address and they're going to pitch me something and then they're going to have my emails to follow up with me, that's on you. Hey. Welcome back to She Means Millions. All right, so today we're going to talk about why we decided to not only start this podcast, but take this direction with the podcast. So who wants to take it away?
I think, there's a lot of talk about authenticity. People talk about authenticity. And I think it's probably an overused word, quite frankly, that here, it's like another word is next level. There are a couple of things that I hear next level all the time. I hear clarity all the time, and I think people shoot out these words thinking that they understand what it is. But I think authentic conversations are the future. I mean, I think as our slogan for last year's conference was, the future demands different. I think, I'm seeing stuff now that says 100% human. I mean, I'm seeing that now, on podcasts, 100% human.
Yeah.
That our whole culture, really, where we're headed to, is the whole notion of, is it human?
Yeah.
Am I talking to a human? Am I interacting with a human? Who's singing that song? Is it a human? Is it, because it's different. I had someone send to me some music. It was actually a cousin sent me some music and says, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I clicked it and I was listening to it, and I wrote back to him. I said, "Is that AI?" Just verifying what I felt was true. Is AI? He says, "Yeah, wasn't that something?" I'm like, you know what? It was a turnoff for me. It was a turnoff. I wanted to hear the original article, so to speak. The real song. So I think getting to that world of authentic conversations, or like in this podcast, the way we're approaching this, I mean, we had a couple thoughts. These could be teaching podcasts. We could hit you with a whole lot of stats.
Here's the top 5 things you should do.
The 5 things. Even though we have some of that, right? I mean, we have here a couple ideas that we've got about this or that, but I think we crave something different, which means that we're going into a place where we can be more authentic and share ideas and thoughts, and hopefully provide some thoughts and strategies for others by us just sharing some things that we know. So, and we're finding our way through this. I think too. I don't think we've got it figured out. I think we're finding our way through what feels real to us.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say, Sandra, Briana?
For sure. I mean, we have our eWomen podcast network, so it's kind of been overdue that we don't have our own podcast. We've talked about it for so long, and then finally it's like, man, we just need to create this freaking podcast already. And then I think maybe the ball was always in my court, but I just finally said, you know what? I'm booking the meeting, and we're going to make this happen, and we're going to get some dates on the calendar. The first date almost didn't happen because you were sick, and we're like, can we reschedule that date? And I'm like, nope, because then we're just going to fall behind. We're going to just keep postponing it. So if you can't do it, then Mom and I will do episodes, because not all of them will be the 3 of us, right? That's kind of the idea. Hopefully we'll get a lot of the trifecta together. But as we continue, you're going to hear solo mini-sodes and episodes with just one of our perspectives on a specific topic, and that'll be great when that happens. But I really knew that 2026 was going to be the year that we were going to launch this podcast. And we talked about having more of a Q&A style, but we wanted to also make sure that this was something that you couldn't get from an event or a coaching program with us. We wanted a different way to connect and to connect at a deeper level. And I think that's where this whole conversation around authentic topics and just being a little bit more real and personal,
And not over prepared.
Right.
Yeah, to be more personal and not be in presentation mode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a very conscious decision on our part. And hopefully it's connecting. You'll have to let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is just like, really, and I personally like music metaphors, meaning that, you take any musical band, right? They discover their sound, their signature sound, after months and months or years and years of playing night after night after night. And so, like, this podcast to me represents our song. Mm-hmm. That along the way, as we do this journey with you, we're sharing with you, and you're giving us, feedback. Hopefully you're giving us feedback. Hopefully, you're digging this, but it helps us shape where we're going to end up.
Yeah.
So I don't think where we are right now is not where we're going to end up. The end up is still evolving, and the picture's still forming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the format is we've got topics that we want to cover. We want to hear what you want us to talk about, so want to get suggestions from the audience, and we're not scripting. We don't have notes. We're having real conversations, and I think, what's often missing is just a little bit more of the behind the scenes access to just what a casual conversation might be like from three people that are running a multi-million-dollar global business that's also growing exponentially. We have brought on almost 25 chapters in Virgin Cities in the last 3 months. We expect to continue that trend of 6 to 7 new chapters every single month. And people are kind of curious to know, how is it that, I think someone told me it was less than 4% of all small businesses ever survive 25 years.
Yeah.
And so, how is it that we continue to not only just stay in business, but grow exponentially?
And not only that, but do it as a family.
Yes.
Not just a husband and wife team, but a parent-child team.
Yes.
I think that's a very rare concoction.
For sure.
So to kind
and
of
people
pull
are
back
kind of
that
who've been
curtain.
following us are watching the succession plan in action, because we've been very vocal about it.
Yeah.
That you were on a 10-year succession plan. You know what I mean? And seeing kind of the evolution, and I'm hearing people say, really watching you so intently now.
Mm-hmm.
And not just what you say, but I'm trying to look kind of behind it all.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, gosh, if that's happening with some people, it's probably happening for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're in school, the teacher always says, please don't hesitate asking a question, because if one of you asks questions, I know that at least a third of the people are wondering the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And that really became, I think, the precipice for how we were going to design the format for the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So are we done?
Why are you guys looking at me?
Yeah.
No.
I think that's a wrap for this podcast.
Yeah.
No.
But as
And 3 voices. For a podcast, that's also not
Typical.
You hear the 2 voices, usually the person that owns the show, if you will, and is interviewing someone else, and you have 2 voices. And we even talked about that. Are our voices distinct enough so that when you're listening and not watching, if you're on YouTube, that's great, but some people do what I do, download them, and whether they're walking the dog or on a plane or whatever the case may be, or just listening to them, can you keep track of who is saying what?
I promise you they can.
Yeah. Well, you'll let us know if you can't, right?
Very, very distinctive, your voice. Of course, my voice, but you and Briana don't sound anywhere near the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. Right.
I do think it
But we did take it into consideration.
Yeah. I know that podcasting is going through its own evolution, and it will continue to do that. And that is, it's really easy for people to get frustrated, right? Especially if they have a podcast and they're not seeing growth, which is a clear indication it needs to be a clear indication for you. Okay, what am I not doing to connect with my audience the right way? What's going on with the communication that I'm not getting the growth that I want to get? So you have to be willing to ask that question, which
Maybe
is what
you're just
we
not
will
interesting.
do. Huh? What'd you say?
Maybe you're just not interesting.
I mean, it could. It
Or
could
maybe
be
you just haven't given it time. I mean, I know from, being on the air with ABC for 8 years on a live radio show, that, you got to develop some traction. I mean, I think everybody just wants this instantaneous hit, and it takes a while to develop your chops and your following and your messaging and your narrative and your style, and all of that grows as you grow, and you've got to stay with it long enough. You don't want to quit 5 minutes before the miracle begins, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so true. I tell people all the time, your repetition is your reputation.
Yes.
It's like what you do over and over and over again. And, your feedback on this particular podcast in particular, in terms of the way that we're approaching this, we're very interested in knowing, what your thoughts are. Do you like this side of what we're doing, or would you prefer that we teach more? You know what I mean?
We're very much in the infant stage with this show, and as it continues to evolve, that dialogue, that back and forth dialogue, is going to be critical. Yeah.
But even this is a teaching moment, because the one thing that we've done in the course of 26 years now is constantly ask the audience, what is it that you want? We have our ask cards whenever we do our big international, actually our platinum event and our international event. Like, what is it that you need to know most right now? And then we take all those cards, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, right? Who do you want to hear from? Kym, Briana, Sandra. And then we look for the themes of things, right? And then we do some of our teachings around what we feel people are telling us in real time that they want, right? And that's, I do believe that is a business lesson in and of itself. Are you just giving people what you want them to have? Or are you paying attention to what people are saying they want from you? And then are you being responsive enough to deliver that? I mean, that is something, that is why we continue to change, because our customer requires us to change. Yeah. Because she and he are constantly saying, what we need to know is this, or what we're struggling is with this. And we sit down and go, we've got that figured out. We've got results we can show. Let's teach them what we've done, kind of thing. So it's important to listen to your customer, your listener in this instance, and be responsive. And we'll evolve as a result of that. This is going to be a kick-ass show, no doubt in my mind, because our customers, our listeners are going to make it that way, because we're going to listen to what they want.
Yeah. In many ways, all of the topics that we've covered are direct reflections of cards that we've gotten and themes.
Yes.
The themes that we always get asked. What's it like working with family? What's it like working with your spouse? How do you build your brand? How do you, the storytelling piece? Like, all of the things that we've talked about up until this point are direct reflections of the feedback that we get over and over, and the questions that we get asked redundantly,
What people don't talk about, this doesn't come up a lot, but I have a brother who is 10 years younger than me, and his name is Whitney, and we were talking, and he was talking about some of his aspirations, and I said to him, I said, one thing I noticed as I've gotten older is that each year you become a little less excited about what you want to do if you've not done anything about it. In other words, if you've not, last year, have you done anything on that thing that you said was important to you since last year? Oh, no, you haven't? Okay, but let's go back to the year before that. Have you done anything on that thing since 2 years ago? You know what I mean? That begins to tell a story, in terms of, what you do speaks so loud I can't hear a word you're saying. Like your actions, behavior, driving your belief system, and this represents a very unique time for us, because, we all get to to choose our space, our moment in time in terms of our marketing career or what we're trying to do to serve. I mean, the one thing about eWomen Network is that if there's one theme that I think goes across all of the members is they want to make a difference.
Yes.
They want to make a profound difference. Yeah. And so it becomes, and the frustration becomes, how do I do that? How do I reach more people? And I really do think it's the wrong question. I really do think you've got to lead with standing in her shoes. What am I saying to support her the way she needs to be supported?
Right.
Standing in her shoes. They're like when you get out of your seat and what you want, and your conversation is all around what she wants, what she's looking for, what matters to her.
Do you feel like you're drowning in your business? Like you're doing everything and something has to give, but you're afraid it might be you? What if I told you there's a network of over 500,000 women entrepreneurs, all dedicated to supporting each other? A network of women helping women. I'm Sandra Yancey, founder of eWomen Network, and I'm inviting you to join us and become a member. eWomenNetwork.com. We can't wait to meet you. And I don't think you can ask your prospects to do what you're not willing to do yourself. I mean, I am amazed at the people that offer programs, and then when I ask them, tell me about the last program you've taken, you know, they can't tell me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
they're not in a mastermind, or they're not investing in themselves.
Right. Or I see them offering a program, and I'll often say, when was the last time you paid that for a program that you've invested in? Right. And they haven't.
Right.
I mean, I do. I mean, we're hopping on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
Afternoon for personal development to go learn. Yeah. Right. To be constantly learning. And we paid $5,000 or something for that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for 2 days.
Yeah.
It's and we've paid $150,000 for a year mastermind. I mean, I think it's you have to be willing to be a student like you're asking your customer to be.
Right.
I mean, that's authenticity at its highest level. You know, I when I stand and make an offer for something, I can really settle into my personal power because I know, A, that I've got the results for the thing that I'm offering, but B, that I know what my audience is thinking and feeling right now because I've been there. And there's an element of compassion and empathy and understanding.
And responsibility.
Amen.
You know, when you've made that kind of investment in yourself and you know how big of a deal it is to write that check or to send that deposit and to make that large of an investment out of your bank account, the responsibility that you have to deliver results for those people is at a much higher level.
Yeah. And you can't want it more than they want it for themselves. Yeah. I've had to work on that with me. I think there's been times when I feel like I've wanted it more for a client than they even wanted it for themselves. Because I think people think I'm just going to write a check and it'll be done, right? Yeah. And that's the beginning. You get it, you get the ideas, you get the concepts, you get the steps, the know-how. You've got the sounding board, you know, if you've got questions. But you got to get to work. You got to start doing it. It's in the action that the transformation takes place, right?
For sure.
And that's really you've heard me say it on one of our earlier podcasts. In my particular case, my performance nature. In other words, the way in which I perform in life is my nature. Okay, the way I do it. And very often you got to break that pattern. You know, if, like I told you, where I had bought a program and I did nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I know better.
It blows my mind how many women pay big money to work with us and then don't follow up or don't provide the assets that we need to be able to move it forward. It's like, it blows my mind. I mean, I remember doing a program where I was a strategist and I provided the templates and the direction. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to post. Here's the tools. And then they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you spend that money and not actually
It was almost fill in the blank, and you didn't fill in the blank.
And you didn't fill in the blank.
I know.
I couldn't have given it to you even any more clearly.
Yeah. In my SOAR coaching program, I only take, 8 people at a time, and I work with them for 9 months. And I tell them, you're not going to get in this program without getting into action.
Yeah.
Because your performance is a reflection of me.
Yes.
And I know I'm pouring into you every month. What are you doing to apply what you're doing so that we can then stand back and say what worked, what didn't work, where'd you get stuck, what do we tweak, what do we modify, what do we iterate next?
Yeah.
Right? So that you have, because I want to feature you on my stage by the transformation that you've made. And I need you up on my stage because you're a reflection of me. So don't get in my program and then not do the work.
Yeah. It's crazy. 'Cause these aren't cheap programs.
No.
Either, it's like how? Actually, how? I would love $25,000 to just throw away. You know what I mean? Like, oh.
Well, I think, people get inspired and get caught up in the moment. And I'm telling you right now, just the mere act of buying, let's say, a program, they feel like they are doing something to achieve their goal. They're like I did it. I've invested in this. And life gets and life gets in the way. But I'm just saying, another way to say this, and Dr. Nathaniel Brandon, who I love, the 6 pillars of self-esteem, but he says, the mere act of talking about I want to lose weight, talking about I want to get in better shape, talking about I need to eat better, talking about the place that I want to go to, you feel like you're doing it. You feel like you've done something. You've talked about it. You follow me? And that's I think part of this new era of authenticity. Your audience. Listen. If there's one thing that humans have, they got a real good BS meter. Okay.
Yeah.
And can tell from stage if you're authentic or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say it, you can act like it, but they feel it. You know what I mean? I've heard people talk about that whole dating thing. What do you call it? Swish left or right or whatever.
Swish, swipe.
Yeah,
swish.
Yeah.
Like
I got rain
shabu
on my
shabu.
mind.
You go
Swish
swish
it off
swish.
the windshield.
We know Dad's not on.
I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
If ever I had a thought that you were swishing.
No, but I've heard people, describe where they talk to someone online or whatever, okay? And they got a great connection online and they're on Zoom and everything else, a great connection, and they think everything's great, and they finally meet. And the day they meet and they talk and they both admit to each other, this isn't going to work. They crossed over into that sixth sense that they just knew innately, this isn't going to work. Yeah. And that's what happens on stage and everything else when people are like, why aren't my offers being bought? Why aren't people jumping on board with me? Because they can feel, and so it's so important. I would almost guarantee you, it's because their focus is on what they want to do instead of what matters to the woman or the man that I'm trying to serve. Yeah. Flip the paradigm, turn it around where it isn't about, I can tell you all day long.
But even with all that, Kym, true success comes in what nobody sees. It's all the work no one sees.
Yeah. Well, didn't Mark Cuban tell you?
Oh, I did. When he came to my office, I interviewed him, and I asked him, and it was incredible how it just like fast. It just rolled off his tongue. And I said to him, why do you think most entrepreneurs aren't more successful? And like that, he said, they don't want to do the work. Yeah. They don't want to do the work. And there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I think most people would be shocked at the amount of work I do by myself with no one watching.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's when nobody's around, there's no audience, there's no applause, there's no atta girls, there's no thank yous, you're just grinding it, There's a lot of grind in being successul and maintaining it over time. Because one thing to get there and another thing to not just maintain it, but continue to grow. Because if it's one thing I can tell you, the business that you're operating right now today is going to be more expensive next year. Mm-hmm. Prices are constantly going up. So you can't make just what you made. You can't make just a little bit more because everything and everyone wants more.
Yeah.
So you got to have more and you got to make more to be able to maintain the growth, the trajectory of your business.
Yeah. 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 And, it's interesting. Our son, Rylan, after working as his past job, was it 7 years he had been there? 6 years?
I think so. 6, 7 years, something like that.
6, 7 years.
6, 7. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, 6, 7. Yeah,
6, 7.
It probably was
It's
6,
7
7
years.
But it's very interesting that he wanted to change his career, and he went to a new company, and we all see a light in him.
Is
We
it
all
not?
see a glow in his face.
Oh, it's so true. He's like transformed into a new man.
And he
He looks different when he walks into a room.
Yeah, he's just happier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
I know.
But he was a star in the role that he played.
He was
in
the
the
number
company.
one.
All right.
In the President's Club, won the trips, the whole bit. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
But we could see the dimming
Yeah.
in his light. His lack of excitement for. We could just see it. And he's. I think he's 30. I'm trying to keep my math.
Yeah.
He's 30.
30.
I mean,
He was
knows-
comfortable.
Not only that, but I mean, he's been around us. I mean, he knows his sister, so he knows we're how entrepreneurs think, how his mom and dad and his sisters think, and all that kind of stuff. But it just, he just has chose a different path, and he's in this new career move, and the light's bright, and he's working hard, but he's got an energy about him.
Yeah.
And I think for entrepreneurs that we get so caught up in the way we've been doing it, and before you know it, things are stale. It's not connecting like it used to be. And when you get into your own private space, and I have a question for you. I love to ask. I love sentence stems. I really do. But here's the sentence stem. If I'm perfectly honest with you, the reason why I'm struggling with my business is, and then write as many sentence endings as you can to stuff. If I'm perfectly honest, the main reason why I'm having a tough time with my business is. It's amazing what clarity that creates. And that's part of getting to authenticity.
Yeah. And it also, what I love about that is in many ways, you own the answers to all of it. You have to make some decisions based on every one of those answers to that sentence stem. I'm not working like I should be working. I don't know what I should be doing next. Right? I mean, you have the ability to step into each one of those challenges and unwrap them and take them on. If I don't know what I should be doing next, that's not a reason to stay stuck. What that tells me is I need a new tribe. I need a new group. I need a new circle. I need to surround myself with other people where I'm not always the smartest one advising everybody what to do. Rather, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be the dumbest one. And I'm going to surround myself with people way smarter than me so I can just say, I'm struggling with this. What should I do? And they're going to go, and I'm going to write down, and then I'm going to pick the one that I believe is the thing that I should be trying most that's going to give me the best result, the fastest, right?
Right.
I mean, you have the ability, once you answer and you exhaust yourself of all the reasons for that sentence stem, you have the ability to make a decision, because as Zig used to say, success isn't for the chosen few, it's for the few who choose it. And when you choose to conquer all the limitations, you will find your results. You will lose your excuses and you will find your results. Point blank, period. Every single one of us. That's the level playing field that we're on. I believe that. I can have a million excuses until I decide to do something different, to do something about it, to prove it wrong. Or I can continue to prove it right. Success is hard, but so is being broke. So is living an unfulfilled life. So pick your hard, shut up, and get to work. I mean, really, that's what it's about. And we don't have enough conversation about this.
Yeah. And
So
it isn't for a lack of information.
Oh, everything is at our fingertips now.
Everything
For free.
Think about it, Sandra and Briana. Masterclass, all these programs, all the free webinars. And you know what? And even the people who are doing the free webinars have to give away other free things to make you sign up for the free webinar. If you show up, you're going to get, what does that say? Is it bad marketing, or is it inauthenticity that the receiver knows, but you guys are going to fish me with something else. You're going to put me on your list. You're going to be emailing me like crazy.
I think that those are the limited mindset people. You know what I mean? The people that kind of want an excuse to stay where they're at. Because if you are turning down the ability to access free information because you know, oh, they're going to get my email address and they're going to pitch me something and then they're going to have my emails to follow up with me. If you're just going to stay in that little bubble and refuse to get the help that you need, if there's an offer for a webinar and you're like, that sounds like information I need to know, but you're not going to do it because you don't want to give away your email address, because you don't want to be pitched on another way to get access to more information, because you don't want to get follow-ups with opportunities to get access to the very thing that could help you get to the next level, that's on you.
That's right. Amen, sister. I'm with you 10,000%. And if all you ever do is show up for everything for free, and then you're upset because you can't get anybody to buy your product,
okay.
What kind of authenticity conflict is that?
Where's the soapbox? I need to stand on a box of soap right now.
Yes. It's crazy to me.
For real.
The people that struggle with sales and then get ticked off watching somebody else sell.
Yeah.
I'm like, sit your butt down and take notes.
Even if you can't buy it, watch the magic.
What are you learning? What's the cadence? What's the language? Notice what other people, it's resonating with them when their heads start nodding yes. What are the tips that you can learn that you can then try the next time to get better and better and better? Instead of doing the same thing to prove yourself right, that you can't make it work.
Yeah.
Man. I love it when people say, I'm going to try and I'm going to screw up 10,000 times. Because that's exactly what Thomas Edison. That's what Thomas Edison did, right?
With the light bulb?
Yeah. 10,000 times he tried before he got it right.
Yeah.
Right? You just keep iterating until you get it right, but you can't just do the same thing over and over. You got to find the little tweaks. You got to make it better. You got to listen to yourself. As hard as it is, I hate listening to myself, but I've had to listen to myself over and over and over.
Yeah.
To go, oh, that's so painful to hear me do that or say that or whatever. And then I go, okay, so I'm going to get better and I'm not going to do that. And the next time I'm going to see if I got better at that again. Right? It's the little slight edges that add up over time and become monumental shifts. But everybody wants to land at the top. Well, the person at the top didn't just land there. She climbed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? There's a component of this that we've not talked about, and it's major, and that is where happiness fits into this. Happiness fits into your journey. Because if all you're doing is waiting to get to there.
Yeah.
But in between here and there, there's a lot of frustration and unhappiness.
Pain.
The Greeks have it's highly regarded in the happiness industry, but it's the definition of happiness from the Greeks is the joy you feel striving toward your potential.
Yeah.
It's
the
beautiful.
Joy you feel striving toward your potential.
That is beautiful.
And so it's in the doing. It's very important to me that in the process of me doing the very thing that I want to do and accomplish in my dreams and all of that, but I'm enjoying the journey along the way. Yes, it's going to be tough. Yes, there's going to be frustrating moments, but there's got to be joy in there, and no one can put that in there but you. You have to bring it to your awareness. And whether it is a gratitude session you have with yourself in the morning or in the evening, or, but looking for the things to be grateful for. I mean, I had an incredible conversation with God. I had all of His attention.
It's amazing how that works.
And I told Him, listen, I am so thankful I'm walking without pain, that I'm walking and enjoying this night. I'm out with my little dog.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
I remember you
just saying
to me, Briana was over at the house not too terribly long ago, and there's a breezeway that goes, to our bedroom, that's all glass, looks out in the backyard. And you said to me, Mom, do you remember this? Do you ever just stop and appreciate how far you've come when you look at this backyard?
Yeah.
Do you ever just stop knowing where you came from? And I said to you, every day.
Every day. Every day. I mean, the house that Trav and I just moved into a couple of years ago was an upgrade for us. And I remember, in our old house, it was a ranch style, it was one story, so the ceilings weren't super high. And we have really high ceilings in this house. And I just remember looking up and being like, man, I hope I never take for granted these high ceilings. Mm-hmm. As you go through life and the newness wears off, I oftentimes stop and I just look up and I just admire, like, wow, I've got these beautiful high ceilings that one time I prayed for.
Yeah.
And I think that oftentimes along our journeys, even when you don't have the high ceilings yet, even when you're in the house that we moved into to Timberleaf, I remember being so grateful for that house. That was an upgrade from the previous, but it still wasn't the end goal. It's not, in the house that we're in isn't my end goal either, but it is the journey, and it is finding gratitude in the journey and being grateful for where you're at and where your feet are.
Yeah.
And I do believe that is the very energy that helps you cultivate more of it.
Yeah. And recognizing when you're full. Yeah. I mean, what I can tell you with Kym and I is, we can afford a way bigger house than what we got now, but I feel complete.
Yeah.
I love the home we're in. We raised you all there. You know what I mean? Our memories are those core memories. And we had another home. You guys, we moved into the house. We've been in our house for 20 some years.
Yeah.
So not the entire time, but I feel my happiness is there. My memories are there. Yeah. I don't need the next big thing. Yeah. I need coziness and warmth and memories and joy and, and I remember tears and, recovery of, what I was so afraid about, what I was on my knees praying for,
Yeah.
I know that when you were sick, I know exactly where next to my bed I was on my knees every night praying to God, and now I can get on my knees and can say, I'm reaching out to you just to say thank you. Thank you. I know you're busy. A lot of other people out there need you. So just know I'm good. I'm good. I'm still walking your path. Thank you. Yeah. I don't want to lose that space. That space is sacred to me now because that's where I feel like I was heard.
Yeah, I find that I have to work on myself every day, work on my thinking process. It's, and we've all heard the whole concept, to get where you need to be, you've got to leave where you're at, you know what I'm saying? But I find I gotta, I'm taking in, again, more of the scenery, more of our time. Sandra, and Briana, both of you, I don't take for granted that our time on earth together, our time, that we've chosen to do it with each other. You're my daughter, our daughter. You don't have to like your mom and dad, but you do. You love it. So I appreciate the fact that you got infinite kind of choices, and you've chosen to be with us and to love us. This is not to be taken lightly. Our time together. I've really got in touch with the fact that, God has put you in my life, and you've chosen, I'm going to spend my earthly time with you.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah. You're making me cry.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you feeling me where I'm coming from on this?
100%.
In terms of just, do you realize that this person is spending their time on earth with you? And they made a choice to do that and to build together and to do together. When we're having an authentic conversation, with what we feel. And, I really wonder, because I know this is how it affects on me, and I'm curious how this affects you. I I've seen people speak on stage where I was so moved that when they got off stage and they were leaving, I got out of my seat hoping that I could talk to them in the lobby because I was so moved by what they had to say. You know, I mean, that's not happened a lot, but it's happened a couple of times. I'm like, there was something about this person's, their energy, their message, how they delivered it, that really went to my sixth sense, you know, broke through. And I'm wondering, as you're listening to this conversation, if we're having any of that same kind of effect with you. Like if you're saying to yourself, you know, gosh, I'd love to have coffee with the Yanceys and Briana Dai, you know, because I'm enjoying this experience that we're having together. And man, I'd love to have coffee. Or
Well, that would be the ultimate,
cocktail.
wouldn't it?
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, honestly.
And just continue the conversation and keep it going. You know what I mean? I could probably cry too.
If you allowed yourself to go there.
No, I'll special
working on
it
it.
is.
I don't have my Kleenex.
Just how,
Usually
just
have a
how special it
Kleenex
is. You know what I
somewhere.
mean? So if it feels special to you too, let us know. Just say, Kym, it felt special to me too. You know.
Yeah. This is definitely a really special conversation. And yeah, I feel so blessed to have you as parents and to be a part of this movement with you. And that, you know, the universe and God led me to where I'm at now. And this podcast and this conversation is a really beautiful one.
Yeah.
That I'll definitely remember.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
I love you too.
I love you so much. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so that's a wrap because she doesn't just mean business. She means millions.